Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Money Codes. This is Joel here to give you today's money code fix. You can see on the screen it says a phantom debt collection scam duped consumers out of more than $1 million. Here are 5 ways you can avoid falling victim. So if you've received a letter in the mail, if you've got harassing phone calls from any sort of debt collection company, before you pull out your credit card or before you pull out your checkbook, before you pay anyone a penny, I want you to watch this video to the very end because I'm going to show you an example of why there are predatory debt collection companies out here that are basically scamming people. There's no other way to put it. They're scamming people, they're intimidating people, they're scaring people into pulling out their credit cards and paying them when in fact legally they had no right to even collect on this debt. And on today's episode, we're going to go over how this happens, and I'm going to show you what you need to do. There's a specific letter that you need to incorporate into your credit repair strategies to avoid this pitfall and to not make this mistake and to not be scammed. So we're going to check that out in today's video. All right, boom, here we go. Now, if you see me looking over to the side, I actually have another MacBook Pro here as another monitor. So I got a lot going on. Go down in the comments if you are feeling the way I'm doing this little setup here. I'm trying to add a little bit more zing to the presentation. But anyway, let's jump right in. The FTC is in the process of returning more than $1 million to consumers duped by a phantom credit collection scheme. Any debt that you have, there's a statute of limitation. It may be 5 years and some change. It may be 7 years and some change. Every state is different, so you really have to go ahead and look at your particular state and see how long the statute of limitations is actually enforced in your state. So an example would be if you had, let's say, a credit card debt from 8 years ago. So in most states, the statute of limitation has already passed, meaning there is no legal support there for them to enforce and to collect on that debt. Meaning they can't take you to court. They can't try to sue you if you're past the statutes of limitation for your particular state. Again, if you want to find out what your particular state says about how long statutes of limitations are, I'm going to go ahead and put down a link in the description. Go ahead and check that out. But again, every state is different. The problem is now you have some shady debt collection companies, and they're basically scamming. They're finding very old debt that is way past the statute of limitation, or in many cases, they have no paperwork at all. They just figured out that at some point you may have owed a few $1,000s to a credit card company. They have no legal right to try to pursue you or to try to collect on that debt. But because a lot of people get super nervous when you have these super aggressive debt collection companies that are on the phone and that they're being very aggressive over the phone and they're trying to basically scare you and intimidate you to pay, I want you to take a breather. I want you to take a step back, and I want you to go over a couple of these steps before you even think about taking out your credit card or your checkbook and trying to pay these people. I know that's a thing that you want to do, and you want to get these people off your back. You want to clean up your credit. Take a deep breather. Look at these steps first. Make sure that you are protecting yourself. Make sure you're doing your due diligence first. And if we have to go ahead and pay these debt collection companies later on, I'm going to tell you a specific way on how you should go about doing that. So if you are contacted about unpaid balances, whether they are fake or legit, remember, fake or legit, whether or not you think this is a legitimate debt or if you think somebody's just playing games with you, the process of what you need to do and the order in which you need to do it, it still remains the same. There are some steps you should take to protect yourself. Now, what are these steps? If you're not aware of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act and you're not aware of your rights as a consumer, it will be very easy for a scammer to conjure up all kinds of scenarios that will frighten you out of your mind, McClary said. Basically, these people have no legal right to go ahead and try to pursue and collect on any debt. They're trying to scam you. They're trying to intimidate you. If they can possibly scare you to death into pulling out your credit card, they win and you lose. So now the first thing that MSNBC has on their list is to request a debt validation letter. This is something that I probably wouldn't put first on my list. Number one, I would tell you to go ahead and make sure that you have access to your credit profile, whether that be going to websites like annualcreditreport.com. I have a bunch of videos on this channel that tells you exactly how to access your entire consumer profile for free. Now remember, because of COVID, annualcreditreport.com is going to allow you to access your full credit reports for free every single week. That's one free way and a very good way to make sure that you have access to everything that is going on your credit profile. If you see anything that looks funny, if anything looks sketchy, if any accounts are popping up on there that doesn't look right, got to circle that, you got to highlight that, and then we're going to go ahead and do the following steps. But it's impossible for you to even find what's on your credit profile if you have no access to your credit profile. Another great place that we've been using is using Smart Credit. Go down in the link in the description. We have tons of great content regarding Smart Credit. Number 2, they're saying to keep good records of past debts. Of course, that's good. 3, check your credit report. We just went over that. Make sure you have some sort of monitoring service. Know your rights. We're going to go over that in a second. And number 5, negotiate existing debts. So at the end, if we find out that, hey, this debt is still legitimate, it still falls under the time frame of the statute of limitation for your particular state, and you just want to go ahead and you want to take care of this debt, there's a way that you can do that, right? So we're going to leave that for last. But the first thing, let's scroll back up. Request a debt validation letter. So a very easy way for you to get a debt validation letter is just to go to Google. So now I'm on Google right now, and I'm just going to type in validation letter. All right, we're going to scroll down. Which one is it? It is, nope, not that one. Here we go, boom. Let me zoom in here so you guys can see it. Boom. All right, so you see the URL here, files.consumerfinance.gov. It's probably somewhere in the middle of the page. It's not the first link that came up. Oh, actually it was. This one is a paid ad. But if you see here, files.consumerfinance.gov, you can see here there is something called the sample letter, right? And it's going to make me open up Microsoft Word. And then perfect. Now we have a sample of a debt validation letter. Now there's a whole bunch of different letters that you can find online. A lot of them are free. Some of them are paid. Even for myself, I have my course here that I promote on creditcodes.com. I not only have my own versions of these letters, I have other letters. If you're somebody that wants to get more information on how to construct these letters, how to make variations on these letters, as well as an additional 24 other letters that meet different situations and different circumstances, there you can get access to the same documents that we use in-house in our company. But again, this right here that I'm showing you, this is free. Just type in validation letter, click the link that you saw me click here. And now here's a good template if you're just starting out on what is a validation letter. And just for time's sake, I'm not going to read every letter of this sample page. You can see what it is that you're trying to convey. This letter right here is what you're going to go ahead and put your information in. You're going to fill it out with your information. You're going to print it out and you're going to mail it to the creditors that are basically harassing you. This letter is basically saying, hey, Mr. Debt Collection Company, who are you? How did you get basically my information? How did you come to the conclusion that I owe you this debt and for this amount? You basically need to show me some receipts. You need to give me some more information on how you came to the conclusion that I owe you this money. I never met you before. Why do I owe you this debt and for this amount? Show me, show and prove. Show me some documentation, right? You're going to take this letter, you're going to fill it out with your information, you're going to mail it out, certified mail, and you're going to send it out to this debt collection company that is basically harassing you, right? You don't want to be on the phone having long, drawn-out conversations with these people. You don't want to, again, be so shook and so scared that you want to just be like, oh, damn, I got to immediately pay you. That's not what we're doing here. Now, the reason why I like this and why I think it's so dope, there are many instances where I've gone out and I've sent a letter similar to this, and we didn't get a response back from the debt collection company. But one of my clients that we're monitoring, we went ahead and we saw that one of the accounts that we were disputing, that we sent the debt validation letter for, it just magically dropped off her credit reports. And she got about a 35 point increase, just like that. Sometimes it's just that easy. It's just that easy. One letter, you send it out, boom, it's gone. But don't get it twisted. It's not always going to be that easy. It's not always going to be, you just send one letter, boom, everything is done. Sometimes you may have to send a second one or a third one because they're going to either try to ignore you, or sometimes they may come back and they may send you a packet and it's going to be detailed with all of the information. It answers all of the questions and they're basically proving, hey, you're still under the statute of limitation. Hey, you do in fact still owe this debt and here are your options. And that's the part where you go ahead and you say to yourself, okay, do I actually owe this debt? Did I really take this credit card, max it out? You know that it's still within the statute of limitations. It's probably reporting on your credit reports, messing up your credit score, messing up your borrowing power. At that point, you want to go ahead and say, okay, let me figure out what I need to do. And this is where I normally say, don't go ahead and just pay. Don't just pay flat out. At that point, I want you to go ahead and create your pay for deletion letter. Now, again, a lot of people, they skip this part. They think, okay, they caught me, I owe this debt. Let me just go ahead and give them my credit card and just pay. You don't want to pay like that in that manner, because what's going to happen is if I go ahead and I pull up your credit report, it's still going to show collection, but the status is going to be paid. And we don't want to have any sort of derogatory accounts on our credit reports, even if the status is updated to paid, or even if they've added some comments underneath the account that show that you basically took care of the account. We don't want to do that. If you're paying these old debts, I want it to look like if somebody goes ahead and pulls up your credit report, I want it to be like it never happened. This debt that we're paying off. And the only way that we can really do that is if we do a pay for deletion letter. And let me see if I can go ahead and find a sample for those that aren't trying to pay, for those maybe it's not in your budget. I want to give you at least some templates to go after. All right, so let's do pay for delete letter. Now here, I'm just going to go ahead and click the first link. I'm not sure I've been to this website, but let's just go ahead and check it out anyway. All right, let's look at Word. Let's allow it. Let's open this up. Now, in a nutshell, this is how you're going to go ahead and fill this one out. This is going to be a little bit different than the validation letter that we just talked about. This one right here, you're going to go ahead and you're going to put in the account number for the debt that you actually owe, the original creditor. All this information you're going to be able to get from your credit reports, like annualcreditreport.com. You can go there and get this information. Or if you send out that validation letter and they send you a packet with all the information, all the accounts, basically showing and proving why exactly you owe them that amount, you're going to have all this information. You're going to have the account number. You're going to have the original creditor. You're going to have the amount owed. And again, just for brevity's sake, this right here is basically saying, hey, Mr. Creditor, I want to go ahead and negotiate a pay for delete on account 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now let's just read the first sentence here, and it's going to basically tell you the gist of this letter. So it's basically going to say, hey, dear Mr. Debt Collection Company, I, Joel, am writing this letter to offer your credit department this one-time offer to settle the alleged amount, because again, we don't want to admit to anything, whether or not you think it's legit, whether or not you don't think it's legit, and you want to get rid of this account, and we can't get rid of it by disputing it through the credit bureaus or by disputing it directly through the creditors with a validation letter. We always want to say alleged. We don't want to just say, yeah, this really is mine, right? I did mess up. Like, we don't want to say any of that. Hey, this is the alleged debt. I want to go ahead and basically do a pay for deletion. So now as I'm skimming this, I wanted to make sure that they actually had the verbiage that says what they're going to do in exchange for this amount that we're offering. So we're going to offer them $500. So many times we don't want to pay the full amount. So if they're saying that you owe $2,000, many times you don't want to offer $2,000 to do the pay for deletion, at least not in the beginning. You want to try to do a percentage of that. So maybe 30% of that amount, 40, 50% of that amount, put that amount in. So you may want to just say, hey, I want to just offer $800 on this alleged debt. And in exchange, and I'm going to zoom in right here, you're listing out exactly what's going to be required on their part. You want to make sure that it's going to be removed completely off of Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Removed completely. That way, when they go ahead and accept your payment, if they go ahead and accept that amount, you're going to see your credit scores jump, and it's going to look like you never had this debt to begin with. So this right here is basically the entire process. This is why, let's go back to the original website. This is why they said, number one, to request the debt validation letter. Number two, keep good records in past debts. There's been many times people had things on their credit reports. They had no idea it even belonged to them. This could happen a whole bunch of different ways. This could happen by merged files, maybe family members, if you live with a roommate, and different addresses sometimes they get mixed up. You always want to make sure that you are staying on top of this. I always say this over and over again. Always look at least once a month. At least once a month. Pay attention to what's hitting your credit profile. Know your rights. We kind of went over that a little bit. And negotiate existing debts. And we talked about that with the pay for deletion letter. So that's pretty much it. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you've been in this situation where someone's tried to go ahead and basically pressure you, harass you. Let me know your thoughts. What did you do to get out of that situation? Have you used the validation letter before? Have you used the pay for deletion letter before? Let me know your thoughts. Go down in the comments. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe if you found this information valuable. And aside from that, hopefully you got some gems from this. With that said, I'm going to check you out in the next video. Have a blessed one. Peace.